I know that you do a lot of photography and like all kinds of different, let's say, genres. I don't know if you can call it that, but all
Yeah,
branches of
totally.
photography. Yeah, but you know, what interests me is the kind of like the live music and the live performance sort of things, a side of things. And I just wanted to ask how it happened for you that you went for that particular, you know, branch, or that you went down that path.
I love I love capturing bands and actually people, I guess, in all kind of different sorts of, in performance or art, or I love that aspect of capturing when they're at the beginning, when they're
Mhm.
emerging. That's and once I find that once bands kind of make it, or get to a certain level, I tend to lose a little bit of interest, not unless I really,
Okay.
really love them. But yeah, it's a different thing. It turns into a different thing, and maybe they are maybe less accessible, I guess, as well. But I like I'm interested in that first stage of development where things are, because things change a lot as well. People change a lot in that. Yeah.
So do you think that you can capture it like through photography as well? And when bands are starting out and you know they're trying to kind of make it, are they more authentic for you, or what is it that you think it differentiates it between when they already big and play arenas and stuff? From your
Yeah.
perspective, yeah.
I think, well, I guess they're still finding their way and they're finding who they
Mhm.
are. They're finding how they're going to operate in that world, or in that band, or whatever
Mhm.
that looks like for them. Are they more authentic? I think they just have less of a facade. Like, so
Okay.
you can have, yeah, you can have more of a connection with them, I guess, potentially. Even if that's not a, I might never speak to a band like a,
Mhm. Yeah, you touched on actually a very interesting topic for me. From your perspective as well, if you know the band and you've got some sort of connection, or like you know a bit more about them, does it change your approach to how you capture them, or do you think you can tell the difference from the photos?
Well, I don't know. I guess it would um, mm, I think I think with all performance, whether it's music or whatever it is,
Hmm.
once you or I find once I know how someone moves and in how they yeah, I guess just how they move through the world, and you can then start to anticipate how they're going to move. You can start to anticipate the moves they're going to make on stage, or where they're going to be, and I guess I find those things that I want to capture.
Hmm.
So, uh, and I guess with a gig as well, they'll have particular ways they act in particular songs or
Hmm.
particular moves they make, and I'm always looking for that moment. I know it sounds really cliche, but
Yeah,
but
that's
I'm just,
true. Yeah.
you're looking for that really interesting moment or different moment or emotive or powerful moment of um yeah, of what they do. But there's also it can also be that moment where they've just kind of lost themselves as well. Um when they're yeah, like the joy that you see people experience when they do that live music. I know I've got off topic, sorry, a little, but
No, that's okay. It's all
yeah.
very interesting for me, you know. And it's funny that you would say that because I've researched some of your interviews that you've given like throughout the
Oh,
past year, and I've come across interesting quotes as well. And you said in one of them, let me just find it quickly. Oh, that you want to photograph people at both ends of the spectrum, from them just being themselves to being completely extreme. And I
yeah,
think this is what you just said. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's very cool. Obviously, they're different when they're not on stage and you talk to them privately, and when they become this stage animal, let's say, or you know, the entertainer. Obviously, there is another side to them. Yeah, that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But going. Oh, sorry, I interrupted
No,
you. Mhm.
I feel like I didn't answer your question. I think the other aspect is because I've thought for a long time there's real value in people not knowing who you are when you're
Mhm.
photographers, because then people don't interact with you. Like that, I can go to a gig or
Mhm.
a small gig, or go to, and if no one knows who I am, that's really good because you can just take the photos. No one's actually engaging with you potentially, or not as in they know you. So there's those kind of photos, and I think some of that is just really I'm just capturing what I can see and feel. But when people, I do have some connection with them, or they do
Mhm.
know, we do know each other. Um, there's more opportunity that they will give you a moment,
Okay.
So, and it's not that you want. Oh, I certainly don't want people to be,
Mhm.
uh, acting, or but that's just you can see when someone on stage recognizes you, or even recognize if they have a good relationship with photographers, or they will give you a moment, and otherwise you're trying to fight for that moment a lot of the time.
Mhm.
Both of those things I think are good. Like, I wouldn't want one over the other.
Mhm.
Like, I think fighting for the shot is really important as well. um yeah, like being in the pit is a real, there's pros and cons to it. It's a very different dynamic. It's a whole different experience. And yeah, you can have great access because you're right there. You should have all the access other than all the other photographers who are potentially there with you.
Yeah.
But you're fighting in a further shot in a different way. You're not fighting amongst the people who are squishing you and pouring beer on you and, you know, pushing you around and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, and putting, in front of you all the time. It's a different thing. So I guess when you get the shot after you've been fighting for it, that feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, but there can be a greater depth, I guess, to the shots you can get when there is an exchange between the person on stage and the photographer. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then
Um,
can I
yeah.
just add to
Yeah,
that?
sure.
The other thing is too, though, when you're in the crowd, there's less pressure.
Mhm.
In the pit, there's an expectation that you have to get those good shots. So, being in the first time I was ever in the pit was for L7 and Cosmic Psychos.
Okay.
I was beside myself. Like, I had a panic attack. I was completely stressed out beforehand.
Mhm.
And Anthony from Desert Highways, who I was shooting for, he was in the audience, and I was just, I was having a attack. I was having
Mhm.
a meltdown. It was so much pressure, you know. And then he's
Yeah.
like, "Well, what's the worst that could happen?" I'm like, "I could vomit on people." He's like, "That'll be great. People will love it. Get it." And then Cosmic Psychos just started playing. He's like, "You got to get in there." So I just had to run and get in
Mhm.
and start. So yeah, when you're in the crowd, yeah, it's a different experience, but there's a lot more pressure in the pit, and I think it's taken years for me to get to a place where I feel more comfortable, but it's still quite stressful, and it's also a very male dominated environment, and yeah, there's some really beautiful male photographers in there, yeah, but you know. But
Yeah.
again, that's like a lot of the worlds that I operate in, or we all operate in. They're very male dominated with
Yeah.
their
And
own.
I know it from the a music fans perspective too, being in the crowd. It's
Yeah,
a struggle sometimes, and to be honest, sometimes it's a fight for your life if you're too close to the stage and there's the hardcore fans, so
yeah,
I know what you mean. And yeah.
yeah.
So would you say that this is now your secondary job, or would you flip the script and say that this is your primary job and then you do Victus on the side? So how does it look like, business-wise, or like, income-wise? Let's not talk
Yeah.
about
Well,
numbers maybe, but kind of like the general
yeah.
kind of idea.
So 2019, it was sort of 2019 was a bit of a crazy year because
Mhm.
actually I had two executive officer roles, which were more than part full time, and I did photography, but I was just working like a crazy person, and yeah, I worked way too much, but I actually made an okay income from photography.
Mhm.
I was making an income that was making a difference to my
Yeah.
life, I guess. And then at the beginning of, so 2020, at the beginning, I just had the one, salaried job,
Mhm.
and photography was doing all right. Like, I was, I'm like, okay, now this is sustainable. It's not a huge amount of money by any stretch, but I was getting some regular income from it. And yeah, like the focus was the International Women's Day project event to happen in March, and it's not like I made any money out of this, but there was enough money flow to enable that to happen. And then that next, like that same weekend, I shot for Golden Plains Music Festival, which again, don't get paid a lot of money, but you do get paid. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, this just ticks along and it's okay. And then from the, basically literally after Golden Plains, there was nothing more. It was all gone. So I got absolutely no. I've made, so when I look at my profit and loss for now, I've made a loss in my business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty open about saying that. So there's money coming in and out, but I'm not actually making any. And I think in 4 months last year I made like $400. That's what we're talking about. You can't. That's not enough for your mortgage or our mortgage for 1 week. Like that's not. So I thought I was building to something. I thought, the trajectory would continue, and, that's, I had planned that once that weekend was over of the International Women's Day event in Golden Plains, that I was going to reassess all my photography because, the live performance stuff and the live music stuff doesn't make you a lot of money unless you do it in certain ways, which are not ways that I really want to do. And I live quite far from the city where most of the gigs are, so getting home at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning kind of makes life pretty tricky, and I was doing that several nights a week. So I'd always planned to reassess. So lockdown forced me to, it all got stripped away basically, and I don't know that I want to go back to, and maybe this, and I think this was something I wanted to say to you, so when I went to the first gig after lockdown, which Cash Savage and Blake Scott gig, because I was kind of like, I'm okay if I don't photograph anymore, live music, I just want to go along, and I still want to go to live music, it's still really, really important to me, but it's okay. And then and then I'm there, like, I want back in, I want in, like, I want to be in that pit, I want it, like, I can't not photograph it, I don't know how to do it without photographing it. It makes me feel, it feels wrong not to.